Hi there, I'm Dave.
I'm not going to go on camera, so if you can turn that off.
Oh, I'm not doing anything wrong here on public property.
Are you recording me right now?
I am, yes. David Menzies for Rebel News here in Bobcaygeon, Ontario. Well, the entire country continues to struggle with the coronavirus, but nowhere has COVID-19 hit harder than right here at the Pinecrest Nursing Home. If you can imagine, folks, 28 residents have died due to the coronavirus. An additional person that lives in Bobcaygeon who visited the home has also passed away. So that brings the total here in tiny little Bobcaygeon in cottage country to 29 deaths. And answers are very hard to get on why this virus has spread like wildfire in this nursing home. Now, the scuttlebutt is that one of the main reasons for this is that people, including staff, including visitors, had been out of the country and didn't abide by the 14-day quarantine recommendation. And again, it is hearsay at this point. Surely there'll be an inquiry in the days ahead. We did reach out to Mary Carr, the administrator here, to get her side of the story. That didn't go so well. Check it out.
But Ms. Carter, even if you can't come on camera, one of the angles I'm pursuing, because there's been so much, chatter out there about how the outbreak happened, and what I keep hearing is that staff and visitors to the hospital that had been outside of Canada, that hadn't self-quarantined for the full 14 days, that might be part of the issue in terms of the spread of COVID-19 at the nursing home. Have you heard this, or do you have anything to say about that speculation?
I've heard it. I have no comment. Thank you for your questions.
Oh, the other, hello, Ms. Carr?
Okay, but there are other people in Bobcaygeon that have plenty to say about this tragedy that continues to mount on a daily basis. And one of them is the gentleman behind me, Bill Denby. He is the president of the Kawartha Lakes Taxpayers Association. And I've come up to Bobcaygeon to see what Bill has to say about this terrible and tragic situation.
Oh, in my opinion, I think what's wrong is they didn't take this seriously early enough. The municipality should have put in a lockdown of all senior homes, no residents in or out, no visitors coming in and out. Staff were on a restricted travel restriction. I would have thought that the minute this had broke, that they would have all been moved out of here into the Ross Memorial Hospital and put in a safe location that they could actually get more monitoring, more assistance, and more help. But none of that was done. They kept them locked in here, and they've passed away one by one every day.
Now, why would they do that? That's much like this. That's a public health issue, is it not?
It's 100%. If anybody knows Kawartha Lakes, it has a saying. This is like Hazard County, and our city hall is called the Gong Show. And it just shows to prove that here we are in central Ontario with the biggest outbreak, the largest amount of loss of life, and our council, our mayor, our CEO still haven't done anything.
In hindsight, do you think, in terms of the bigger picture, the government of Canada, that is, the federal government, could have done something more tangible as a response? As you may know, I've been going to Pearson International Airport since January. Contrary to what people think, the border is not closed. There is no remote temperature scanning being done of passengers coming into Pearson. Contrary to what Health Minister Patricia Hajdu says, asymptomatic passengers are not being given a mask like the one I'm wearing. It makes my jaw drop every time I go to Pearson and see this, especially when you compare the Taiwan experience, how they clamped down. They have less than 400 confirmed COVID-19 cases. What are your thoughts on the matter? Maybe getting tougher earlier could have made a difference here at Little Pinecrest Nursing Home?
That's what we've said all along as the Taxpayers Association. The federal government, the Prime Minister, dropped the ball. He should have closed the border, tightened it up immediately. Actually, nursing homes all should have went into lockdown 2 months prior to this ever getting out of China, because other countries were starting to tighten up and take defense action, where our Prime Minister was more worried about bringing people home that may be infected.
Okay, well, Bill, I'm going to knock on the door, see what reception I get. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Hi there, I'm Dave.
I'm not going to go on camera, so if you can turn that off.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to find out what the...
Mary Carr's been sending updates to the media, so if you can please speak with her.
I did phone Miss Carr, ma'am, earlier today, and she hung up, but when I was just asking what the timeline was, what other precautions have been taken.
Yeah, unfortunately, our media response is going through Mary Carr. Thank you.
Okay. Well, there you have it, folks. I did try to get their side of the story. I especially wanted to find out if the rumors are true, if this whole tragedy, and there's really no other word for it, could have been prevented by perhaps screening visitors, staff even, who might have been out of country. But as you saw, they're directing all media questions to Mary Carr. And when you ask Mary Carr a question, well, either she has a very faulty phone connection or she hangs up. Terrible, terrible lack of transparency here, especially given that this is truly a matter of life and death. This is someone from Dynacare. It says a health solutions company. And Bill, you witnessed this man make that delivery while I was trying to get comment. And what did you just observe there?
I mean, this is a war zone, for God's sakes. I mean, people are died, and people may continue to die here. This gentleman walks up to the door, no precaution, no mask, no nothing, no gloves, hands them a case, and she opens the door to him, breathes, and he turns around and leaves then. I just can't believe this.
You know what? You raise incredible points, and to put the exclamation mark on what you just said, he's making a delivery from a healthcare company.
Exactly, and we don't know how many more deliveries he's made other than this one. I mean, that's the whole issue. I mean, that could be how it got in here to begin with, was spread through. I mean, we have no idea, and I mean, right now this should be under lockdown. Yeah. That basically nobody gets in or out.
Well, I can tell you, Bill, after my interaction there, I've been told to get off the property, so it's on semi-lockdown. It's on lockdown to the press.
I can believe that. They don't want this to get out to the public. They want to try to bury it and make it go away, right? That it never happened and everybody will forget about it in a few months. That can't be the case. People need to be held accountable for what's happened. We've lost 29 seniors out of our community. And like I said, this cannot be swept under the rug.
Well, folks, this is truly unbelievable. Once that healthcare worker said to get off the property, I complied. I'm on the side of the road. But look behind me. 2 police cruisers, 2 OPP cruisers, one is the black and white and one's a ghost car, have pulled up to the nursing home. Again, is Pinecrest Nursing Home seriously more concerned about the word getting out that so many residents have endured a death sentence while in their care, rather than doing something to prevent this ongoing tragedy from occurring? It's just amazing. Once again, in this country, we are learning that the practice of journalism is more egregious in the eyes of certain vested interests than actual tragedies and crimes that are occurring before our very eyes. I am astounded. I'm not doing anything wrong here on public property.
Are you recording me right now?
I am, yes.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want on public property. You just can't go on their property.
Okay, then. I didn't know that until they asked me to leave, and I left right away.
Okay. As long as you don't pass the poles, they got their trespassing signs out and everything like that.
I just know, are those new?
The trespassing signs?
Yeah. I'm at 10 Riverside Drive. This is one of the predominantly senior residents that you would come across in Bobcaygeon. I can tell you it is several times the size of Pinecrest, and yet, to the best of my knowledge, nobody here has been diagnosed positive with the coronavirus. Why is that? Why is it that elderly people and people with compromised immune systems here, just 2 kilometers away from Pinecrest, seem to be coping with the pandemic okay, and yet just up the street, it's a war zone. I think that's something else that would suggest that a public inquiry, once we get out of this mess, is absolutely necessary. Well, folks, I'm at the City Hall for the City of Kawartha Lakes. That is the municipality that incorporates the town of Bobcaygeon. First of all, if you can imagine, tragedy has struck again. Just in the short time I've been in the Bobcaygeon area, another person residing at Pinecrest has died. That means the death toll at Pinecrest is now 29, plus that one other person in Bobcaygeon that went to visit at Pinecrest. So it's an even 30, or in other words, about 1% of the entire population of Bobcaygeon. But folks, my friend here, Mr. Denby, was passed on a tip that is absolutely incredible if it turns out to be true. The reason why we came to City Hall, we were hoping to get a counselor on camera. He initially agreed, and then he had a change of heart. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Denby and find out what new information he's learned about what might have been the catalyst that brought tragedy to Pinecrest.
A counselor called me that had been in contact with a very good friend of his that told him that somebody from the nursing home in the ownership position was vacationing in Florida, and they came home and they didn't self-regulate, stay away from people. He actually seen them out shopping and whatnot, and apparently he'd been at the nursing home, and this may very well be how it got into the home. And if so, this is just unbelievable.
I have done as much as I possibly can to reach out and get ownership's side of the story. I guess what this I guess ultimately, given the lack of accountability, the lack of transparency, surely this is something that a public inquiry should get to the bottom once we're back into times that resemble something a little more normal.
I can only agree with that, but I think right now with what we've uncovered, the province needs to step in. Premier Ford, the health minister, we need to have them come in here with their team and just find what is going on inside that home.
Well, folks, I came to Bobcaygeon seeking answers to why the Pinecrest Nursing Home is such a hotbed of coronavirus deaths. And I have to tell you, I think I'm leaving Bobcaygeon with more questions than I have answers. Part of the problem, I think, is the lack of accountability and transparency. I've reached out to management at Pinecrest, and their only comment is no comment. And I don't think that's good enough. I think the public has the right to know. I think certainly the loved ones who are mourning their dearly departed have the right to know. But I had no cooperation whatsoever. Also tried to track down the owner of Pinecrest. Never heard back. I want to get his side of the story in terms of these rumors of a Florida trip and any possible connection that had with the Pinecrest deaths. And also, on the topic of accountability and transparency, I cannot believe that not all of the counselors on council think that a public inquiry should happen in light of the death toll at Pinecrest. It's almost as though some counselors are of the opinion that, oh, there's nothing to see here, move on. We don't want to raise any kind of dire talk, what with cottage country season around the corner. Well, I can tell you, with the way this global pandemic is playing out, there might not be a cottage country season this year, and it's impossible to hide the fact that about 1% of the town's population is now deceased. Indeed, the only people who are making good business, it would seem, of this horrible tragedy at Pinecrest are those in the funeral business, and that's a crying shame. For Rebel News, I'm David the Menzoid Menzies. Hey folks, unlike the media party, we don't receive a single nickel of government funding, nor would we take it if it were offered. We depend on donations from you, our loyal viewers. So if you can, please visit helprebelnews.com, that's helprebelnews.com, so that we can continue to bring you the other side of the story.